You're welcome to the Economy and Politics Show. I'm Ottoabasi Abasiekong. This edition will discuss prospects for sustainability of Nigeria's pharmaceutical industry. My guest joining me virtually today is Mr. Valentine Okelu. He's the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Neimeth Pharmaceutical Plc. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I would like to know how the removal of the fuel subsidy has impacted Neimeth Pharmaceuticals and your industry from production costs. Are there options to explore renewable energy for sustainable operations that has to do with power? And also, we've seen several developments that have happened in the industry. So let's begin with that perspective.
Yeah, thank you very much. As you know, before now, subsidy on diesel, which is the major fuel that is used to power most of the factories, was already removed, and diesel was selling at about 800 and above before now. But the removal of the subsidy on PMS kind of had another round of negative impact on the cost of production of most pharmaceutical industries. Basically, because transportation in Nigeria is mostly done using PMS fueled vehicles. So we had impact on inputs because the suppliers that are moving their products to us are moving them at higher costs, and generally staff that are running those production processes, their transportation costs almost increased by double. So the removal of PMS, subsidy on PMS, had both direct and indirect impact on the cost of production, and both are actually very negative. Regarding the use of renewable energy, of course, we are all being forced to have a second look at that. We were already thinking and working towards using gas in place of diesel. But the current situation makes it much more critical. It's almost an emergency now, because the way the economy is running and the way the costs are running away, it's important that every effort is made to bring down the costs of production by all means. So we're looking for efficiencies. One of the things we are looking at is unbundling the energy need, the powering of the machines versus powering of the offices, powering of other smaller devices that support production and administration. So we're looking at, apart from the major change in terms of using gas, we're now looking at solar options, wind energy options, so that we can reduce the amount of dependence on diesel. So part of the equipment and offices that could be powered by other sources of energy, we will have to do that while we'll still keep running the production with the required diesel or gas energy. Thank you.
Well, very interesting to note that you're looking at unbundling your energy sources, and also the fact that the whole issue around the PMS subsidy removal has really affected inputs into production. So the cost of production is really a challenge. But let's look again, the same period, June 2023, the Foreign Exchange Liberalization Reforms came on board, and businesses have been significantly impacted. How is the pharmaceutical industry navigating this challenge, and how is your company adjusting? We know that already this year we've seen what has happened with the GSK delisting finally from the market and also exiting its operations. We've seen also from the manufacturing side, P&G, Procter & Gamble, saying that they're going to move from manufacturing to more of import structure in terms of the operations. We've also seen Sanofi signaling that they're also going to exit. So it's really, really challenging. So for Neimeth and the pharmaceutical industry, how are you adjusting?
Okay, that exercise in itself is both dramatic and traumatic to the industry. Even before that initiative, the sector had been grappling with even sourcing forex for the basic things we needed. And as you know, 90% of inputs for pharmaceutical manufacturers are imported. The dramatic part now is that everyone is now moving to the parallel market to source the required forex, and it has escalated the cost of input materials and indirectly has also escalated the cost of the finished goods. So the situation currently is such that if it's not handled very, very, how do I put this now? As if it's an emergency. Yeah, it has to be treated as if it's an emergency to get to the point where we'll begin to see even the local companies close shop. So far, like you pointed out, it's the multinationals that are currently making dramatic moves based on the fact that I think they are not able to repatriate their profits and they're not able to manage this forex regime the way the local companies have been able to manage it. But the reality is that going forward, affordability of pharmaceutical products will be an issue. Profitability of pharmaceutical companies, are being able to return profit to our shareholders become very, very seriously threatened. And the other part is that a whole lot of pharmaceutical companies are now having forex losses. For Neimeth, ours is running into hundreds of millions of naira already, and the year is not yet ended. So it's really a big issue. I believe that the government, people that instituted that regime, must have had some good intentions. But the important thing at this point is to practically look at the impact. Sometimes in formulating policies, one may not be able to envisage all the impacts, or the extent that the impact go. But it's important that as those policies are being implemented, their impacts are being evaluated and then adjustments made to ensure that all players, especially the very, very critical sectors of the economy, remain afloat.
I just wanted to follow up and ask Mr. Valentine, is your company amongst those that have forward contracts, backlogs that need to be cleared?
Yes, of course. A lot of us, the cycle in production is, you import some of those items on credit. The double whammy effect for pharmaceutical manufacturers is that because the cycle time is a bit longer, you must have imported, converted the products, the items into finished product, sold them at particular markups based on the costing as at the time the items arrived. Now that you want to pay the suppliers, the rates have gone up so much that the whole profit you've made in a long while may be wiped, just from that single factor. Yeah. So, we are very much affected too.
So hopefully, like the government we are tracking, as assured, the FX guidelines, we are awaiting it. We're also looking at the clearing of the FX forwards backlogs, and hopefully also a more inclusive stakeholder engagement in terms of how the foreign exchange regime can really positively impact those that have decided to be involved in domestic manufacturing, because we need, like it said from the regulator, the National Food Drug Administration Council, NAFDAC, we need to have drug production sovereignty. So if we have people on board, they need to be encouraged. And we hope that the monetary policy authorities working with the fiscal will really help to align this. Now let's look at the fact that the Central Bank of Nigeria brought on board direct development financing. Okay, but this regime, the current central bank, is shifting from that back to traditional monetary policy. And it is interesting to know, it will be interesting to know how Neimeth and the pharmaceutical industry have benefited from these interventions prior to this halt by the CBN. Because looking at the January MPC notes, the communique, what the then former central bank governor said was that based on cumulative disbursement under the CBN facility in healthcare, manufacturing, and services and agriculture for over 71 projects, they disbursed over 114.7 billion naira. So I just want to ask, have you benefited from this facility? How will this halt affect the industry based on what has happened now?
Thank you very much. So, talking about monetary policy, since the 1980s, when the Structural Adjustment Program, I think SAP was introduced, we realized that there has always been an attempt to kind of get the system, to be self-sufficient in some sort, move the system towards free market economy, and that's a good thing. But again, like I said before, sometimes I feel that the will, the political will to carry through some of these things in the appropriate way, get in the way of the results. Like you pointed out, the CBN, especially around the COVID period, made some direct development interventions, and the pharmaceutical industry as a whole benefited immensely from that. Neimeth, as a company, were able to get about 2.4 billion, which was targeted towards building a modern CGMP, WHO CGMP factory. And the 2.4 billion wasn't sufficient. So the company also, in addition, had to go to the market. We had some right issue, and we got, got another about 3.something billion. To complement what we got from the government. So even just using Neimeth as a test case, you can see that the pharma industry really benefited. But there's one thing I want to really point out, which is very, very peculiar to the pharmaceutical industry. And that's why these interventions have to continue. If we really have to achieve this current government's new drug policy, production policy, of saying that we have to move from currently the ratio of locally manufactured pharmaceuticals to the imported ones is 30 to 70, meaning we produce 30% of our requirements and we import 70%. Now, the current government has flipped it the other way around to say that the plan is that by 2025, local production should be able to deliver 75% of the needs of drug needs of Nigerians, while the imported formulations or drugs would contribute 25%. Yeah, so if we have to, if that target has to be achieved, then a lot of these interventions would have to come in. I'll give you specific reason for this. The pharma industry is one of the segments that is in dire need of patient capital. A typical investor would not want to invest his money and wait for 2, 3, 4, 5 years without returns. But you find out that in pharma industry, I already talked about getting 2.4 billion, raising 2 point something billion again, and then not yet done. So it means that to start a facility, to build a facility and then get it to completion takes somewhere between 2 to 4 to 5 years, depending on the dynamics. Because a lot of approvals, you don't just get down there and start building, get a building approval like every other person and start building. No, apart from the building approval from the government, traditional building approvals, you still have other approvals from NAFDAC, and at every stage, you need some other approvals. And when you're done, you now start, what do you call it, registering the products that you want to make in those factories. So it takes quite some time. And because of that, you find out that the industry may not really succeed well, depending on commercial banks for funding of these facilities. And these facilities have to be funded for us to get to the destination of 75-25. So in essence, I'm saying that that former policy of development financing was excellent. The pharma industry benefited. Neimeth also benefited. And we hope that the current government will also prioritize the industry, knowing that medicine security is very important. We're all aware of what happened during the COVID when some countries that had almost like a monopoly of production of certain medicines refused to export it to others. And then the rest of the world were left out in the cold. So it's important that we have a long-term view of this and treat the industry, with the level of care and attention it deserves.
Very interesting conversation, Mr. Valentine, but let's wrap up with 2024. As we approach 2024, what for you is the outlook? I mean, just in 1 minute for the industry, and what should we expect to see?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I expect still a lot of headwinds. The Forex regimen we just talked about, I'm not sure it's going to be resolved in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Even if the policies are put in place, the impact may stay longer, and then the damage already caused may take longer to reverse. So I expect that the cost of medicines may still rise depending on how the economy goes. The multinationals that are not feeling very, very comfortable with the way the segment is currently configured may still make adjustments. So we may still see some gap in output, because when they stop local production, the local producers are not likely going to ramp up production immediately. It will take some time to get that done. So that would also increase the supply gap, which will still affect prices. The other very, very uncomfortable trend is that when there are these gaps and the cost of medicine start rising too high, then it creates room for counterfeit medicines also. So this is an area that even NAFDAC itself will have to pay attention to. But I also see local pharmaceutical manufacturers like ours, Neimeth, expanding both their portfolio, of what they currently produce, and then getting into new segments based on the gap being created by the exit of the multinationals.
Thank you very much, Mr. Valentine Okelu, the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Neimeth Pharmaceutical, for this robust session on prospects for sustainability of Nigeria's pharmaceutical industry. So much deep insights on the industry and the way forward. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
To our viewers, if you want to get further insights from the show, visit the ProShare website displayed on the screen. Also, follow the WebTV social media platforms to engage further. To become your way again, enrich yourself with the knowledge of socioeconomic developments around you, because it is a wise thing to do. I'm Ottoabasi Abasiekong. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.